I feel like as vegans, it's kind of hard to find the perfect sort of festive cookout 4th of July type of meal. Sure, you've got your veggie burgers and your veggie dogs and you've got your grilled veggies. That's all just kind of standard, and one might even say sometimes a little boring, although classic and delicious. But it's nice to have something different and kind of a show-stopping dish that will wow your guests and that will also delight your taste buds and give you all of those tastes, all of those cookout tastes that you're craving, but in a different format than you're used to having them. Back when I lived in LA, there was a restaurant called Mendocino Farms. They had a small vegan section on their menu, and one of the sandwiches I got, honestly probably in 2011 or 2012, was called a vegan picnic sandwich. It was basically, as the title suggests, like a vegan picnic in a sandwich. I've been wanting to remake this sandwich for years, and I was finally ready to make it, but I kind of forgot exactly what was in it. It's not on the menu anymore. I don't think it's been on the menu for years, but I was somehow able to find a really old version of the menu, and I found the sandwich that I was talking about. So it's actually called the BBQ Tempeh Picnic Sandwich, and the description was spicy, sticky, money glazed organic tempeh bacon. Not sure what money glazed means. Really not sure what that means. Mustard, pickle slaw, tomatoes, pickled red onions, veganaise, and toasted ciabatta, on toasted ciabatta. I think that I sort of altered the sandwich in my mind over the years to make it more like what I think would be a really good vegan picnic sandwich. So my version is going to have BBQ tempeh, that's the same, potato salad, and pickle slaw. So it's a little different, a little more simple, but I mean, come on, you gotta put potato salad on the sandwich, right? That sounds amazing. And I'm sure it would be great with some added veggies, but for me, the slaw is enough in the veggie department. Anyway, that's how I'm making my sandwich. I am so happy with how it came out. Here is how I made it. So the first step I took was to prep my potatoes because I knew they were going to take a little while, and so I wanted to get those going ASAP. I should mention I did not use a recipe for the potato salad or the coleslaw. Neither of these things are things that I make on a regular basis. I think I've made them before, but I don't remember the last time. So I was just kind of like free-flowing, going with what my intuition was telling me. I did glance at a couple recipes just to make sure I had all the sort of core ingredients that you would expect, and honestly they both came out amazing, so I recommend doing it my way if you don't have a go-to recipe that you love. So I looked at the type of potatoes that you're supposed to use in a potato salad, and what I found was that you're supposed to use, quote, waxy small potatoes. I wasn't exactly sure what that meant, but I found these smaller red and white potatoes at Trader Joe's, and they looked kind of waxy, I think. So I picked 2 red and 2 white, although they're more like yellowish, the white ones. I thought it would be nice to have a little variety, like 2 and 2. Variety is always nice, especially when you're making like an apple kind of dessert. It's nice to use different kind of apples. I thought using different kind of potatoes would give the potato salad a nice little variety. Variety is the spice of life, so they say. So I washed these off prior to filming. I did not peel them because I think it's nice to have potato skins in your potato salad. I feel like the red potato, when I cut it open, looked so much like an apple. Some of these potatoes had some sketchy parts, but that's potatoes for you. I feel like potatoes are a little weird and mysterious, and sometimes you never know what you're gonna find on the inside. So I started cutting them up. I wanted the pieces to be small enough that they would fit nicely on a sandwich, but not so small that they would just fall apart after being cooked. So I cut up my red and yellow potatoes, and then I had a pot of water that I had sort of like pre-boiling, trying to heat it up a little bit, and I'm dropping the cut potatoes in there. The water is salted, of course. If anyone knows how to stop the splashback that you always get when you drop potatoes in water, I have yet to figure that out. So let me know if you figured it out, because it's pretty bad, especially when the water's boiling and you burn yourself. So I got those on the stove and got them set to high heat so that they could start boiling. And then next I wanted to cut up my tempeh. Because I'm making a sandwich, I feel like strips are best. So I cut my tempeh into these strips. I tried to make them about a 1/2 inch thick. And then I took my always pan, which it needs a cleaning, as demonstrated in my always pan cleaning video. Also, as I mentioned in another video, my always pan has been giving me some stick action, some problems with sticking lately, which is something that I need to email them about. Anyway, but for putting like tempeh in something with no sauce or anything, it's totally fine. I used a little avocado oil, lined them up, and put it on the stove at about medium heat. My strategy with tempeh is usually just keep it on a medium / once it's heated up, more like a low heat, and then just let them cook a lot on either side so that they get nice and crispy. And then I am going to slice up my celery, trying to make really thin little slices. I ended up using about 3 stalks total, I think. I was just kind of eyeballing it, honestly. I figured I didn't have to add it all in, or I could add more if I thought it needed it. I really like using the top leafy part of the celery. I think it adds a little something extra. And putting all my celery in this little bowl just to set it aside. Then I am cutting up my chives. You know, I don't like onions in my sandwiches, but I thought chives would be a nice touch to the potato salad. And then next I am slicing up my pickles. This is going to be for the pickle slaw. So I actually used 2 different types of pickles. I had these sandwich pickles from Trader Joe's, and I had these dill pickle spears from Trader Joe's. I don't know, I thought let me just use a variety. I thought that the flat ones would be easier to cut, but I thought the dill ones might give a little different flavor, even though I think they're both dill anyway. Again, variety is the spice of life, as they say. Cut up all my pickles and put them aside for now. So of course, with your coleslaw, you can shred everything by hand, but I don't really have the proper tools for that. I also didn't really have the time to do that today, and so I bought a pre-made broccoli slaw mix from Trader Joe's, making life a little bit easier for myself. Some of the pieces though in the Trader Joe's mix, you know, some of the cabbage pieces were really like thick and big, and I don't really want that on my sandwich, so I'm just cutting up some of the bigger pieces just to kind of try to make them all a little bit more of a uniform size. In order to kind of break down and soften up the fibers in these veggies a little bit, these very cruciferous veggies, I decided to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Just get that kind of marinating ahead of time. You know, you're supposed to add vinegar into your coleslaw anyway. And then in the meantime, I checked out my potatoes. I flipped over all of my tempeh pieces, and then I actually decided to just finish putting the coleslaw together. So I am using vegan mayo. Vegenaise is my vegan mayo of choice. Just eyeballing it, added in my pickles. I tried it, it tasted pretty good, but I did think that it could use a little bit more of the coleslaw mix, so I added a little bit more of that in and set it aside. I was really happy with how that came out, exactly what I wanted. So I had decided that my potatoes were ready. I basically waited until I could put the fork through them, but not so much that they were falling apart. And I strained them, and I actually ran cool water over them for a while because I thought I should cool them off before I work with them. But then I read that you should actually put the potato salad together while the potatoes are still warm. So thankfully they were still warm at this point, and so I went ahead and added them to my bowl. At this point I realized that I forgot about the dill. Oh fuck, my dill. So I decided to use fresh dill because they had it at the store, and I love using fresh herbs when I can. I had already washed them, and I just went ahead and just broke them up with my hands. Instead of chopping them, just broke them up by hand. And again, using vegenaise, I think it's technically pronounced vegenaise, but I think vegenaise sounds so much better. Added a bunch of vegenaise in, again, didn't measure, just added a bunch. The potato salad is, I feel like, supposed to be the most mayonnaise-y part, so I put a bunch of mayonnaise in. And then I added in my celery as well, and I added in some black pepper, some salt, and just gave it a really good mix. And then I added in my mustard. So I added in both whole grain mustard and spicy brown mustard. Again, you could probably say it with me at this point. I feel like variety is the spice of life, so I love whole grain mustard. I love the flavor of it, but I think potato salad is good with a little spice. Decided to add a little bit more dill a little bit more mustard, and then I remembered the chives. Honestly, I just kind of kept mixing it around, taste testing, seeing what it needed more of. And then I remembered one of the most important ingredients, I think, smoked paprika. I only started using smoked paprika over this last year, and it's just so good. It's really a game changer, I think. And it's definitely, I think, a predominant flavor in potato salads, so I did not want to miss that. Added a little bit more smoked paprika. And at this point, I decided the salad was pretty much done. How good does that look? So then I was ready to coat my tempeh. As you can see, a lot of the tempeh pieces got nice and browned, kind of crispy, which is just what I like. It's how I like it. I like the texture that brings, and I also think it brings a nice kind of toasty flavor to the tempeh. And I'm going to use my barbecue sauce. I'm using Stubbs, which is my absolute favorite barbecue sauce. I think it's the best barbecue sauce out there. And just dumping a ton on there. And then I'm also going to use some maple syrup. There are a lot of really tangy and kind of more acidic flavors in this whole sandwich situation, so I did want to use something to give it a little bit of sweetness. And after all, the original sandwich says that it has sticky barbecue tempeh bacon, and so this is going to add a little bit of stickiness, I think. Then I'm just stirring it all around basically and getting it nice and coated. And honestly, then I decided to let everything set in the fridge overnight. I was originally planning on assembling it all right when I made it, but with pretty much all of these things, they're the type of things that get more flavorful and soak in more flavor as they sit. So then the next day I went to assemble the sandwiches. I am using ciabatta, just like they use in the original, lightly toasted. Now these ciabatta rolls are a little bit smaller than I ideally would have liked, but they work totally fine. And actually, I think if you were serving these at like an outdoor barbecue or whatever, this would actually be the perfect size because they're not huge sandwiches. They're bigger than a slider size, but actually these would be really good as sliders. Like if you just use slider buns instead, that would be an amazing thing to serve at a party. I was debating whether or not I should put veganese on the bread, but you know, there already is a lot of veganese in the other components of the sandwich. But I decided the bread, it did just need a little bit of veganese. You know, we don't want a super dry bread, like ruining this whole experience. But yeah, I'm just kind of assembling it, layering everything, and there it is, it's finished. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. It's really good. Considering how much like slop is jammed in here, I feel like it could be way more messy. I mean, it's great. That's a good old American sandwich for you. I am so happy with how this came out. I'm so proud of this sandwich. I'm so happy I finally did it. I can't tell you guys how long I had been wanting to recreate this sandwich for, but also not even remembering what was in it. It was just this kind of bizarre fever dream from my past, and now, you know, 10 or so years later, it's finally back in my life. I am definitely going to be making this again. I think this is just a really awesome use of different flavors and textures. So I hope you guys try this. I so hope you enjoy it if you do. I feel like this is the type of thing that could really wow not only your vegan friends, but I think almost more importantly, your non-vegan friends and family members. People just don't think of things like this when they think of vegan food. They think of like eating a sad salad on the 4th of July because there's no other options. Just to see that this is a possibility of something you can do with plants, I think is pretty impressive and delicious, and good representation of what a delicious vegan summer can look like. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me know if you end up trying this. I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July. Hope you have a great next few weeks with friends, family. I'll be back soon, and I'll see you then. Bye!